him as Bundoran.
Hold on, I want to get me cape. I know. Try it again.
How about now? Can we hear me now?
Oh, let's give it again.
Hello?
Oh,
Can you
there
hear me
you
now?
are.
There we go. There I am now.
There he is. There
I
he
was
is.
worried there for a second.
I was worried there.
I was going to make a joke
there he
about I heard that obviously the boom is back with that big long job file there, and I was going to make a crack about the Ocean FM accountancy job. Going, people get paid for this rubbish, do they? That's news to me. And then we had that little disaster. I know Shane Smith will be listening there going, typical of those two Egypts there. Couldn't even get themselves on the radio. Sure. Hiya, Shane. How's it going?
Ah, sure, no, we're doing our best. Actually, you were plugged into the wrong hole there, so that was how it was. Okay.
No comment.
Okay, no comment. We have a couple of good movies this week.
Yeah, and as always, I like when it's a bit interesting and a bit of contrast. We've got a sort of a heartwarming sort of tale of older folk getting into trouble, and then we've got a rock comedy horror, a rock coho. I don't know what we'll call it, but we've got that, and one of my favorite Mr. Mondays, one of the ones I want to go on about the most. So a nice mix this week, which is always good,
Absolutely. Well, we're going to kick off with something I'm looking forward to seeing, The Duke.
Yeah, I think I actually finished up last week by thinking, Jamie, we've got one for you this week. And I wasn't sure I was going to get to see it in time because I've been on a run of not quite getting there. For that, I must mention, my sister, who, like the rest of my family, has a little gene that means she never listens to me at all in anything in life. Actually listened to the show last week, went to Dog because of it and absolutely loved it. Gave it a 5-star review. So hopefully we're on a roll here. So The Duke is a story. We've been waiting a while for this one again. It's another one that's been delayed loads by the pandemic and so on. And actually for sadder reasons as well. The director, who's quite a famous director, did Notting Hill and lots of other British comedies, passed away during the pandemic. Nothing related to it, just one of those things. And it delayed, and they kind of weren't sure if it would ever come out. And thank God it has. So we've got Jim Broadbent, who is, it's all set in the 60s. He's a bit of a troublemaker. He's always campaigning for stuff, and he comes up with a new plan of what to do to look after the old people in society. Let's have a little look at the clip.
Will the defendant please stand? Kempton Bunton, you were charged that on the 21st of March 1961, you stole from the National Gallery a priceless portrait of the Duke of Wellington by Francisco José de Goya.
Not very good, is it?
We're convinced that the Goya has been stolen by a highly professional international criminal gang.
Mind your boomers!
Almost certainly a trained commando.
You all right? Bitter biscuit. One problem.
What's that?
Your mother. I can explain.
I'm shaken.
It's the shock.
Shock, yes, I'm shocked. There's a stolen masterpiece in my wardrobe.
What's he actually asking for? £140,000. For what? Charity. Good grief.
I'm living with a madman.
I'm tackling social injustice. I'm like Robin Hood.
You're an idiot.
The taxpayer paid for that painting. They could have given thousands to war widows and pensioners. It's for the greater good of mankind.
Mankind? What about your own kind? How long will you get?
I don't know. 10 years.
You could have told me. We could have dealt with it together.
You married young.
I had to marry.
I had to marry.
It was love.
He is not a thief. He borrowed your Goya to do a bit of good in this world. You campaign for pensioners and war veterans.
Every time someone gets cut off from the rest of us, this country comes a foot shorter. All my life I've looked out for other people and got into trouble for it. But I had faith. Not in God, but in people.
How do you plead?
Not guilty.
For those unfamiliar with court proceedings, that was the plea, not the verdict.
Your mother.
Your mother.
Yeah. It is. I get that tone of it. It's there all the time. And they're really good at introducing them. Look, the actors are so good. It's Jim Broadbent and it's Helen Mirren. So, like, if they were just doing a version of the Telephone Directory, if there is such a thing anymore, it would still be a 2-star alone, just doing that. But what they're really good at showing is how, especially as a bit of an now lefty myself, that Jim Broadbent is great, that he's protesting these things. He's on the right side of all these issues. But that's great and all. And people across the road go, isn't it great that he's standing up for the pensioners? But to live with somebody like that, you go, what a pain in the bum. Would you not give it a rest sometimes? There'll be parents at home going, yeah, look, I love that my kids are so socially aware and environmentally friendly, but sometimes I want to just give them the peas without them going, are they fair trade peas? And it's this sort of family set in the 1960s. His dad was in the Great War and came home really, lost his legs. And he realizes that generation, because set in the 60s, that generation now are pensioners. And he says, and it's very true, that TV and radio are a cure for loneliness. They're one of the things that is really important. And he thinks that it's scandalous that the pensioners in the 60s didn't get free TV licenses. And he's protesting about this. And the whole rigmarole, and you can hear it with the paintings on, he gets deeper and deeper. And the more he promises his wife, Helen Mirren, that I won't do it again. And he's from Newcastle, pet, I won't do it again, pet. Of course, he gets more and more embroiled. And again, while it has an old-fashioned feel to the movie, not just that it's set in the 60s, it's that sort of old British comedy that they used to do so well. I think in the older movies, Helen Mirren would be sort of like a hen pecking, oh, she's no fun at all. But absolutely, you 100% see her point of view as well, going, look, we've a life to live. We've our 2 sons. There's a good part of it about that they lost their daughter quite young, and that this is, it's about grief as well as everything else. And now I have to say there's some really good jokes in it, although it's more of a big smile of a movie. It's one of those, it's not so much a roaring laugh and as much as your hands folded with a big smile in your face going, oh yeah, this is good. And I know I've said it already, but they're just so good at this stuff. They make it look so easy. And all you have to do is watch most comedies and realize it's not easy to do comedy. It's easy. It's much easier to do drama. I honestly believe that this sort of stuff, to roll these one-liners off and to make you like people who are annoying at the same time is a real skill and charm in itself. I thought this was really good. And I have to be honest.
Yeah.
So woke up this morning. Bundoran was covered in snow. Looks pretty, but I had to drive to college for an exam. I heard the news, the awful news from Ukraine and so on. And you feel a bit stressed driving in the snow for an exam. What's going on in the world? And I rushed back to see this movie, watching it at 10 o'clock. The heating wasn't on in the cinema because it wasn't open yet. I'm sitting there with the big jumper on going, I mightn't be in the form for this. And like the warmth came from the screen, whatever about the heating, the central heating, the warmth came from the screen. Oh, don't tell my boss, but I nipped out and turned on the heat too, but we won't tell them that.
No.
And suddenly I felt a little bit better about the world. And surely that's what we do here on the radio, and it's what cinema is. We all will watch the news tonight and we all do that. But sometimes we need escapism. It doesn't mean we're ignoring what's going on. But, there's only 24 hours in the day and not all of it can be taken up with this sort of stuff. And sometimes we need these movies.
We do. Just
to give us a bit of release. And also to see, people who are saying, standing up for the little guy, standing up for the good. It is, and sometimes they're not beaten down. Sometimes good wins, and sometimes it's lovely to see. I really enjoy this, and I think you love it, Jamie.
Yeah. That's the Duke. And when does that open?
That opens tomorrow.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. And that stars Jim Broadbent. He was in something recently. He was in something I've seen that you should have a look at. There's a new version of The Great Train Robbery.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that. I'll check that out.
He plays the detective that spent all his life following these guys, and a completely different role to this role.
Yeah.
But
it just does it all in he's always Jim Broadbent, but he's just such a good actor. Serious or comic, it doesn't matter. He's really good.
Okay, we're going to move on to something. It's Studio 666. I didn't know anything about this. It features the Foo Fighters. Yeah. Like you've never seen them before.
Yeah, from the sublime to the ridiculous, here and right now.
Okay.
Now, you say I'd never seen them before, and I think that's true. But anyone who's followed their career, and Dave Grohl particularly, know they're quite funny, and they've always put a lot of work into their videos. They often had comedy videos, or particularly starting with Learning to Fly, where they, performed little skits. My favorite band, Rush, they inducted them into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they dressed up in mad silk caminos and all that sort of stuff. They've always been up for a laugh. As a matter of fact, Dave Grohl was in the last Muppets movie. So they've had this project for a while. Dave Grohl did a comic book on a band who go in to rehearse in this Studio 666, and they get possessed and everything goes. And it's a silly horror movie. It's purposely over the top, silly, like those 1980s ones that people were worried that were going to corrupt the kids, but actually they were just dumb, silly fun. And it's one of those, and they did it during the pandemic. They had nothing to do during the pandemic. So they all had a big house. So they made this movie. It looks ridiculous. It is 18, so it's quite, gory and so on. But it is people who love horror, people who love rock music, which is very Bundoran, both those, we're going to really enjoy it.
Okay. Let's get into a proper movie. So, Nightmare Alley. You got a minute.
I'd love to defend Studio 66, but I'd go right to Nightmare Alley. So Aldous Huxley and C.S. Lewis, Seamus, they both died on the same day, and almost nobody noticed because it was the same day as JFK was shot. And I feel like that about Nightmare Alley. It had the misfortune of coming out on the same day as Belfast. And no matter how much I ranted about it, I think it was Shane on at the time, I knew nobody's listening. Everyone's going to go to Belfast. Everyone is still going to Belfast. It's still getting great numbers. But Nightmare Alley sort of came and went. Now, the Oscars know it's good. It's nominated for Best Picture. And I'd love people to see why. Last chance to see it on Monday, unless it actually wins the Oscar. For only $4.50. It's a brilliant noir, creepy movie. The last scene will stay with you for ages. I'll shut up now, but it's really good. Go and see it. Last time you'll hear that from me.
Nightmare Alley, Missed It Monday movie. That is it from Collie. Enjoy the week at the movies, and we'll talk to you back here on Thursday.
Next
Thanks,
week,
Collie.
the Batman.